Hello, everyone. I am Muktesh. I am a Senior Program Manager with eDynamic. Have worked for digital marketing technology solutions for a while now. Have been engaged with different type of digital solutions for over a decade, both in terms of technically architecting it as well as creating end-to-end strategies to support marketing objectives around it. So today's webinar primarily is around the capabilities of Adobe Marketing Cloud and how it really enables digital marketing in the enterprise. So before we get there, I would quickly want to talk about digital marketing, this whole buzzword that's used quite often. But there is so much that's digital, and there is so much that impacts the customer today that it's difficult to make a meaning out of it and wrap your brain around it in a perfect way, if you will. So what are the things that we are covering in today's webinar? So we're talking about digital marketing technologies and how they have become indispensable in this day and age. We would also be talking about the hyper-connected customer, how the customer profile, the conventional customer profile has changed to, a hyper-connected profile wherein the customer has a perception of your product or your service even before the product is launched. Then we would focus a little bit on the buying cycle, which is very key for any marketer. We would be primarily talking about B2B, but from Adobe's standpoint, it also would cater to the B2C scenario. And then from a marketing cloud perspective, once we have covered the bedrock, we would talk about the overall integrated marketing cloud, and we would talk a little bit about the disparate products or platforms within the marketing cloud. Great. So about digital marketing technology, right? Where did this term digital came into being from? I mean, how come it suddenly became so important is a question that many people kind of wonder. But I mean, it's not that it's any more a new term to any marketer, because most of the customers these days are digitally connected. And what we really mean by that, let's look at some stats. So in 2012, there were around 239 million people on the internet just in the US. There were 800 million, close to 1,000 million people on Facebook. There are humongous number of video viewers on YouTube and other video channels. There are, I would say, people using mobile and tablets, in a much faster pace than they used at any point in time. So digital is about how these people are connecting to your products and your services. And that is where the idea of the hyper-connected customer comes into being. So whether you like it or not, digital has fundamentally changed the way customers engage with products and services. It has changed the customer landscape. Now, what we need to do is understand as marketers the value of this hyper-connected customer. Now, what you're looking at right here is a view of what you could see as the funnel, if you will, in many ways, and this funnel can be different. But as you see that different consumers, they go through a different path of how they are engaged in the funnel. Now, what that really means is that no two consumers have the same engagement cycle, the buying cycle, if you will, from a digital standpoint. Now, you need to identify a mechanism to engage with this hyper-connected customer, and there are so many channels in digital. There are websites, there are other channels on the web. There's mobile, there is Facebook, there are blogs, there are other social platforms like LinkedIn. So many things. Some of them might be relevant to your marketing mix, some might not. But the important point here is what as I mentioned here in the deck, what Google refers to as a zero moment of truth, is that you, like it or not, there is a perception built around your product even before it's purchased. So it's moving so fast. So there has to be a mechanism for you to be able to engage and communicate with this customer of yours. So what does this really mean, from a marketing standpoint? In eDynamic, what we really do is identify the different touch points, digital touch points, if you will, across the buying life cycle of any customer related to your specific scenarios. And some of it might apply to you, some of it might not be relevant, but that the journey will identify some of the content that you might want to leverage for engaging with the customers. So, for instance, from discovery, the initial discovery, to the advocacy, where you eventually become so acclimatized and so aware of the product that you become an advocate of it, there can be different types of content funneling that you could use across your digital journey, across your buying cycle, to engage with your buyer, with your customer persona. And you have to identify personas. We'll talk about it in a bit. So all these contents can be in different forms. They can be driven by programs behind the wheel, but they are the means to engage with your customers. So from SEO campaigns to email campaigns to social publishing that you do on the web, to blogs you write, to reviews that if you have a product, if there are reviews on CNET and other forums, to mobile sites and responsive sites, which allow people to be able to browse and access your websites on their tablets and on their mobile phones, to landing pages which are very much focused on one campaign and microsites. All of these tactics can be used in one form or another during the life cycle, the customer buying cycle, if you will, to engage and create touch points. And this, as I said earlier, this all needs to be driven by some kind of a bigger program, bigger campaign for that point in time. So it's easier said than done. It seems to be. So what is the problem here? If we talk about, if you look at this buying cycle, this funnel, what is the problem? The problem is that we're talking about disparate channels. We're talking about disparate tool sets. We're talking about disparate skills, if you will. All these need some sort of a confluence, which in turn allow you to be able to manage the buying cycle in a very planned and in a very consistent way across channels, across digital mediums, if you will. So, so from a marketer's journey perspective, this is again a very similar view of what we saw earlier. So that was the buying cycle. Now, if you think about what a marketer goes through in terms of planning stuff and planning tactics across the funnel, across the customer buying cycle. So from planning budgets to planning campaigns to tactics like search engine optimization, email marketing, to again, personalization, websites, newsletter and promotion. So these are again tactics that marketers employ and leverage across the funnel in one way or another. So as I said, and I'll kind of reinstate that point and emphasize on it further, the problem, the colossal problem that marketers conventionally have faced is the problem of dealing with a variety of tools. Because every tool, there's a different tool for, let's say, media buying. There's a different tool for campaign management on social media. There's a different tool for campaign management for email and mobile campaigns. There are different tools for web content management. There are different tools for personalization. There are so many tools. It's a deluge of platforms, and it's not just the bad part. The even worse part, I would say, is really that there is no single unified view of the customer. So as a marketer, what I need most is the intelligence and a single source of the customer, which I can, again go back to and refer to in terms of that persona, and accordingly funnel information and engage with that persona. I do not get that single source of truth, that unified view of the customer using these different tool sets. So it's not just a problem of different tool sets, it's also a problem of not getting the right information, the right analytics, the right measurement of your customer personas. The people who are engaged through your buying cycle. You do not have a very good handle on that. So Adobe actually, in a way, solved that problem. So Adobe has come up with this notion of a marketing cloud, and a marketing cloud is a container cloud for distinct marketing tools, yet they have a single interface, which is what Adobe refers to as the marketing cloud interface. And that interface really allows marketers to be able to access all these disparate tools through a common interface, but at the same time, more importantly, they get a unified view of the customer, a unified view of the user behavior, right? Whether it's the behavior on the email, or it's the behavior on the website, or the landing pages, or the A/B testing scenarios that you're running, you are getting a singular view of the user behavior or of the customer persona behavior. Now what you see here is a mapping of what we were looking at earlier. So what now we have done is we have tried to take some of these tools which are available within the Adobe Marketing Cloud and try to again paint the picture from a different perspective, which is with tools like Adobe Media Optimizer, Adobe AEM, which is Experience Manager Suite, Adobe Social, Analytics, Target, and we do not have campaigns here, but campaigns as well. What you really do is you have this one umbrella that caters to these disparate tactics in a very unified way. So the landing pages, the mobile side, the website, email marketing, part of email marketing for content, commerce part, it's all being taken care through the Adobe AEM set of tools, the Experience Manager set of tools. And then there are Adobe Analytics pieces, which are like the results, metrics, reports. All of those can be taken care through analytics, which is like Site Catalyst, Discover Insight. All of those tools combined, known as Adobe Analytics. So what you get as a marketer really is a single platform a single go-to platform, if you will, which is an integrated platform which really solves the problem of the marketing silos. Now let's talk about how we have conventionally helped customers really connect the dots across the buying cycle, across optimizing the buying cycle for our customers. And we would also, towards the end, a little bit talk about how Adobe toolset can really empower this whole connecting the dots notion, if you will. So, so from an eDynamic perspective, and I don't really want to kind of blow eDynamic trumpet here because that's not the objective. The objective is to give you a perspective on how Adobe really enables the whole digital marketing strategy piece for you as a digital marketer. So from planning, acquiring customers to engaging customers, and then towards then retaining them, the different Adobe tools, and it's not like one tool or another. It could be a combination of the tools depending upon your buying life cycle. So I would kind of break it down in two parts. You know, what is it that eDynamic expertise lies in? So our expertise really lies in areas where you really need someone, irrespective of the technology and the platform, to be able to take the baton from a certain point, let's say point A, and kind of connect it to point B. So you might have different means from going from point A to point B, but you need someone to be able to draw that line. Now that is what an agency like eDynamic would do, who would understand your marketing objectives very, very clearly. They would design alongside your marketing team a program that would allow you to kind of plug those leaks, if you will, in your funnel. And they would also identify platforms, and platforms would include platforms like Adobe Marketing Cloud, the suite itself, which would allow you to kind of really run from the very inception to procurement and securing a customer. So the end-to-end life cycle. So you actually need a strategy, you need tactics, and then you need enabling technologies, right? So enabling technologies part is very well done by Adobe, but the strategy and tactics part alongside and along with your marketing organization is done by an organization like eDynamic. So what we really help our customers is defining a digital strategy. So there is so much out there. As I very much mentioned at the outset, there are so many tools. There is really so much noise about what this whole digital beef is. But what you really got to understand is how much of it is really relevant to your buying cycle, to your customer, to your marketing organization. We help you figure that out. And maybe what is not relevant for you today, it would be relevant for you, let's say, 1.5 years from now. That is what we refer to as the maturity in terms of your digital maturity within the marketing organization. So we lay out that roadmap. We kind of define that view for you, if you will. It also includes planning and executing. It's not just about painting the blueprint for you and just showing you a 5,000 feet view that this is what you should do from a digital perspective. It also entails understanding your objectives, which would mean your short-term objectives as a marketing organization and your long-term objectives, which again have to be congruous to your overall marketing plan and your annual KRAs and KPIs that you're tracking. Now all of that needs to be taken into account, and what we really help further is you to be able to choose the right tools and then actually execute your campaign, your initiatives on those tools. So typically, one of the key notions about tools is that they're available and they're kind of ready to use off the shelf. But that's not always true. It is in many cases, but not always. As I said, no two customers are alike in terms of their engagement in the buying cycle. No two personas are alike. The same way, no two buying cycles are alike. So a custom, from an agency's perspective, like eDynamic's perspective, a customer A, they can have a very different buying cycle vis-a-vis a customer B, which can have very different touch points in the buying cycle. All of that needs to be looked into and investigated. The right strategy needs to be advised upon. The right tactics need to be employed, and the right tools which can really empower and optimize that buying cycle need to be selected and employed. So, from planning to acquisition to engaging them, whether the engagement is through social media tools, through lead generation from lead generation and demand generation, through email campaigns, social, SEO, further really segmenting your customers, we define the metrics, we define the strategy, we design and execute those initiatives, and then we also work towards retaining them. Whatever tactics we think work for your marketing organization in terms of your retention strategy for your customers, whatever type of content funneling needs to be done, whatever type of measurement and reports need to be extracted so that you can engage and re-engage and retarget and continue to be associated with your customers. All of that is tactically looked upon and leveraged. So let's have a closer look at that. So from a planning perspective, what do we do? So we could help with things like media planning, budget allocation, and persona definition. Now this is all part of what I just alluded to, the whole digital roadmap. We lay it out for you, we define what you really need. We define the customer engagement roadmap, very critical. Everyone talks about engagement, but engagement different meanings to different people. What do you really want to accomplish out of customer engagement? What do you really mean by that? Sometimes you can have a really really fine-tuned, very meticulous customer engagement metric where you want to account for every single click-through on the website and every email opened and every every SMS received. You want to account for all of that data and accordingly inform your metrics. Sometimes in your buying cycle it might not be that relevant. So your customer engagement roadmap also needs to be thought through, and it's also informed by the digital strategy. The media planning, what are you buying? Where are you investing in terms of your digital media planning? What are the best practices around it? And again, it varies from one vertical to another. We help you identify that. And then tools like Adobe's Media Optimizer and other set of tools available from Adobe. So the way we have kind of put this together is a conjunction of what we could do vis-a-vis what Adobe could kind of provide as an enabler, as a bedrock in many ways. From an acquisition perspective, as I said earlier, and this is kind of true for all the different steps funnel. But from an acquisition perspective, let's talk about, say, website management. You really want to roll out a website, and every organization, your organization can have very different objectives of the website, so we have run into scenarios where customers really want to be able to have better engagement, whereas there are scenarios where customers really want consolidation of content assets in terms of their websites. There are customers where user behavior tracking is very, very important on the website. Web as a channel and website really works as a hub in a hub and spoke way. So its website works as the central linchpin to all the other channels like social. So all of that is very, very specific to your scenario, to your case. Multi-channel. So I talked about the hub and spoke scenario. You might or might not have a hub and spoke, but you might have a multi-channel need. You might want to leverage email for demand generation. You might want to leverage social. You know, who doesn't want to leverage social? You might want to leverage search. You know, whatever comes to organic searches or you know, in layman terms, Google, right? So that is how the path is really defined in many ways. Now, all of that needs to be backed up by some kind of implementation, whether it's the design part of it, whether it's the coding part, which is, in our case, Adobe provides a very strong and robust content management system that's called Adobe CQ5. Now it's called Adobe Experience Manager as a consolidated suite that can enable many of these capabilities. And then there is this whole demand gen piece where you can really use your website as a profit center, not as a cost center. You know, you can really make your website a lead generation engine in many ways. So those objectives need to be identified, and accordingly, the right enabling technologies, as I said, need to be employed. In terms of engagement, you engage, and again, there's this varies from one customer to another, but you engage when you know. So this notion of segmentation and profiling is a very strong and a very conventional notion in marketing, but digital has given a new meaning to it altogether. So whereas earlier you were spending your marketing dollars somewhere you did not really know in a complete sense if whatever initiative or whatever tactic you have put to use, if that is what has generated a particular behavior or a particular sentiment in terms of your customer behavior. But now with digital, there is no, I would not say no, but I would go on to say that there is less room for gut, because more and more things are measurable. So this whole notion of segmentation and targeting, which allows you to identify personas, really track behaviors relevant for those personas, and then target content, which is the whole personalization piece. You can really target content based on those personas. You can really funnel. You can do this whole A/B testing and MVP and all that for different type of user personas that are available. That really allows you to take engagement to a very different level altogether. So in my view, in my book, that is something that really enables engagement. But as I said earlier, engagement can have different meaning to different organizations, as in marketing organizations. Though the underlying principle of engagement would be the same, but the metric you are tracking for engagement could be different in one way or another. But Adobe's tool set really allows you to be able to measure engagement in a very, very, very conscientious way, if you will. So this whole notion of Adobe Analytics, which is a combination of Site Catalyst, Discover, and Insight, it really is very powerful tool set which really allows you to measure every single bit of user behavior on your website or on your microsite pages, campaign landing pages. It really gives you those levers in many ways. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I believe it really empowers your whole engagement, because I've always believed that engagement and measurement are two sides of the same coin in one way. Then in engagement, this whole noise about social. Social is without doubt really big, but all noise is not good noise. I mean, social has so much content and so much breadth that sometimes for marketers it's just really difficult to wrap their arms around the value of social for your organization, if you will. What you really need is to be able to figure the true signal out of that noise in social, right? And what you also want, and I go back to my earlier argument about the hub and spoke, about the centralized mechanism for managing all the channels. What you also need is for you to be able to manage social from the same interface and perhaps repurpose, I would say, some of the content that you have produced for some of the other channels, like some of the email newsletters that you have created, some of the web page content that you have written. There's no need for you to kind of reinvent the wheel and not to repurpose and reuse some of the content that's already in there in your repository. So with Adobe Marketing Cloud, you really have that power, that capability to be able to do that. Again, I mean, retention. So these tactics, these what we really do in terms of building relationships, encouraging customer repeat visits on the website. The underlying principles of what you could potentially do would be pretty much the same as they would be in acquisition phase or the engagement phase. What would perhaps change is the tactics that you would employ. What would perhaps change is that perhaps they are governed by a different step in your overall program, which funnels a specific type of content through a specific channel. So maybe a specific type of email newsletter gets sent to the customer because that's a certain step in your program. For retention purposes, the customer has already procured your product or service. Now you're engaging for maybe for cross-sell, maybe for a better customer lifetime value, something in that realm. Now all of that, again, is specific to your marketing organization, your metric that you are tracking. But the tools and the means for you to be able to retain customers, they really allow you to be able to continue to engage them in a way. So analytics, that I have again talked about the value of the analytics, and Adobe Site Catalyst, Discover, and Insights are unparalleled leaders out there in analytics. This whole piece really allows you to be able to engage, understand, retarget, reposition, cross-sell, and track overall the behavior of your users. And depending on the stage, the gate in your funnel, you could throw in a specific type of content and allow user to be able to engage across your buying cycle in the retention phase. So again, this slide kind of gives you a sum and substance of what we've been talking about, in terms of eDynamic's core competencies, if I may put it that way. So digital strategy and roadmap, I reiterate, it is the centerpiece of any digital marketing technology implementation. You need a very solid bedrock in terms of your digital strategy, your roadmap. You just jump to the tactics, you start hearing about stuff like SEO, social media, and you start using them. It might not do it for you. You need to think it through. You need to have a very solid, very refined strategy, which is very much tailor-made to your marketing organization, to your buying cycle. Creative design with the whole visual design part of it, whether it's the visual design for the campaigns or the websites, the microsites, the ads that you run, the social assets that you create. That's one of the areas that we focus on as an agency. Then the whole marketing services piece, which is around some of the heavy lifting, right? So again, tactics like SEO, SEM, pay-per-click ads, social media. So tools is one thing. You have to have a strategy, and you have to be able to execute against that strategy. If you have a tool which really allows you to be able to do it really, really faster and really, really in an optimized way, great. So Adobe allows you to do that, but you still need someone to run with it, right? Someone who understands social media strategy fairly well. So that's again one of the strengths. Then the implementation, all of this is, I would say, in a way, more convoluted than what meets the eye. Again, that by no stretch means that it has less value, or it's not worth getting into, because by every yardstick, it's worth getting into. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. You are, if you're talking and thinking about these platforms now, then you're already in the catch-up mode. You are not really there with many others in your industry, in your vertical. There's a good chance. I'm not saying like everyone understands digital and everyone has pretty much embraced digital as yet. Despite of being there for some time, it's still kind of seen in many ways. But yes, you are you really have to embrace it. You really have to adopt the latest technology trends in terms of digital for you to be able to compete with other organizations in terms of your marketing strategy. Otherwise, they will have a very different means to communicate with your competitors, and there's a good chance that you'll miss that boat, which I'm sure you won't. But to my point, all of this in the initial implementation has a technology complexity to it. So you need to implement these platforms to be able to get things off the ground from a strategic perspective. These platforms need to be implemented, whether it's the content management platform, the analytics system, your metrics need to be designed, it needs to be kind of rolled in. Community, if at all you're considering community, if you are into an area where you feel it's value to have partner communities or distribution channel communities, so on and so forth, social, all of these tools need to be implemented in one way or another. In some cases, the implementation is kind of really short in terms of the overall time frame, but in some other cases, it could be fairly time-consuming. It will have value, but you have to be able to create an abstraction which is optimized for your use in one way. So this gives you an idea of the landscape of eDynamic service portfolio. Now, quickly jump back into, I should say, the Adobe Marketing Cloud. So we were talking about the problem that every marketing organization can faces, which is around marketing silos, So you don't have one tool or one platform which gives you a single customer, which gives you a single source of truth. You're dealing with so many disparate platforms, it's pretty much impossible for you to be able to have the right data and for you to be able to have the right meaning out of that data, if I may put it that way. Adobe really solved that problem by Marketing Cloud. Marketing Cloud is a compendium of distinct tools, and I should say a dynamic compendium because it's evolving. So for instance, some of you may already know this, but for those who do not, Adobe recently added Neolane to their suite, which is a cross-channel campaign management solution. So earlier they had Analytics from Omniture, they had Experience Manager, the content management part of it. Then they had Target, very powerful platform, Adobe Social for social media publishing, and they had the Media Optimizer for the keyword tracking and media optimization, and then they added Campaigns, which is what Adobe Campaign is, the new kid on the block. So, it's a regularly evolving tool set. The approach that Adobe is taking is very important, and I would say it resonates with how marketing organizations function. So it kind of picks distinct areas which marketing organizations kind of work on, from content management to personalization to experience to keyword tracking to campaigns. Typically, it would give you a good breakdown in terms of how a marketing organization would be kind of constituted. So they're solving these problems, and they'll continue to solve. I'm hopeful that they'll evolve this further. The best part is that all of these tools are though distinct, but they are kind of connected through a shared service. Now, without sounding technical, what it really means is for a marketer to be able to access any of these tools, you have a common interface. Now, not just a common interface, you have a common intelligence of the customer across channels. So whether it's analytics system, the CMS system, the personalization system, the social media system, the SEM system, or the campaign system, whatever profiling, segmentation, and whatever customer persona information you're capturing, it's all consolidated in a single source of truth. You have a single view, a unified view of the customer. That's a big problem to solve, and in a way, Adobe is solving that problem. So let's have a closer look at these tools for a moment, and we'll talk about these tools fairly quickly. So analytics. Adobe is the undoubted leader in analytics. As I said, and as I've been saying all along this webinar, that the problem with data is that data is growing by the minute, or I would say by the second, in every marketing organization. Data is more siloed than ever before. You do not really have the right pieces of information. Now, all data is not good data. All data does not provide you signals. So it's not really, it's really about making sense of that data. It's really about for you to have the flexibility to take advantage of the power of tools like Site Catalyst, Discover, Insight, Genesis, the other tools in the Adobe Analytics suite, which really allow you to be able to abstract the information about a user and really separate signal from noise. So that's what Adobe Analytics really does. You can really define your metrics that you want to track, and you can really track them fairly well in analytics. So in my view, Adobe Analytics, conventionally this was the mature analytics, it is one of the most powerful tools any marketing organization must have, I would go on to say. So that's about Adobe Analytics. Experience Manager, on the other hand, is a combination of distinct capabilities, primarily, the capability at the fore in terms of the Experience Manager would be the web content management capability. So, the web content management is, as I said, the hub of all the information and all the content that is created across channels. So even social, analytics, media optimizer, different tools would use content from the web content management system. You could have a different component which is called the digital asset management, which is just about storing and keeping digital assets like imagery, videos. That's the digital asset management part. Then you could have communities, so there would be scenarios when you want to build partner portals, community portals, customer portals, and things like, let's say, HR portals. You could all build that using Adobe Experience Manager. So really powerful tool with great capabilities, great feature set, one of the most powerful enterprise content management systems underneath. Adobe Target. Adobe Target, in many ways, is one of the most powerful tools in the Adobe toolset. What Adobe is really, I would say, it is rooted in data, math, and workflow. So you have data from analytics, you have content from Adobe Experience Manager or the CMS, and then you have an engine which does all the calculations and does the recommendations accordingly, which really takes care of the stuff around behavioral targeting. So Adobe Target has more than one product within itself. So Test and Target is one of the products, which is a very powerful personalization tool for A/B testing and multivariate testing. You have Search and Promote, you have recommendations. So Adobe Target primarily is targeted towards behavioral targeting for users. It's an optimization tool, very powerful and very easy to use. Tool which can really help your marketing initiative by many folds. Adobe Social. What Adobe Social does differently is that it combines listening. It combines the capability for you to be able to do sentiment analysis, you to be able to listen into what your customers are saying. So there are companies, and I know of product companies, which manage their CRMs, if not managed completely, they have part of their customer relationship management on the social communities. So they do a very good job in terms of listening. Now, in terms of the notion of listening into the social media discussions, It's all sounds very good, but it can easily become very overwhelming for marketing organization. You really need some kind of a mechanism for you to be able to, as I said earlier, separate the signal from the noise, right? Now, Adobe Social really allows you to be able to do that. The other objective, or if I may call it the other use case in one way, is for organization to be able to publish content to social mediums. So for instance, you want to publish content to a new Facebook page or something like that, or you want to have a new Twitter post, but you don't really want to go to Twitter every time and post something. Let's say you have a web content management system. You have some content there and you want that content to be funneled to your social media site or your Facebook page or something like that. Now that publishing, that centralized publishing, is something that Adobe Social would enable. So that is the power of Adobe Social, and in turn it also allows integration with Adobe Analytics, the whole site catalyst part of it. So there's this notion of social CRM and how social can really kind of help in terms of your revenue. That is something that that can really be done in one way using Adobe Social and Analytics, so that you can really see the value of the social collaboration, the communication, the engagement with your customers, and how it's really helping or not helping in terms of your top line. Media Optimizer, again, one of the very powerful tools, allows paid media investment across display, search, and social media. The problem, again, in terms of industry norms, is that these channels in terms of display ads, search, social media, all these paid media investments are kind of siloed. What Media Optimizer allows you is to be able to manage these channels with one interface and one solution. So all your paid ads, whether it's the display ads, search ads, which is the SEM, PPC part, and the social media ads, all those can be managed from one interface. Really powerful tool. And then the last one, but very important, and I would go on to say indispensable, is the Adobe Campaigns part. As I said somewhere earlier, Adobe acquired Neolane very recently. Neolane is a very powerful campaign management, cross-channel campaign management tool. And someone, as a matter of fact, went on to say, and I would quote that Adobe just bought a Ferrari. So Neolane is really so powerful in terms of cross-channel campaign management. Now again, the same argument that I've been making all along, which is about the unified view of the customer, singular view of the customer data. With Adobe Campaign, you can, which is the Neolane part of it, you can really run campaigns in different channels because it's really a cross-channel campaign management. You can really, identify your targets, the list that you have to run the campaigns against, and the profile information is integrated with every other channel, the AEM, the social, all the behavioral data is common, integrated with every other channel. It is integrated with analytics. So that really allows you to be able to have a closed loop view of your marketing initiatives across channels. So this is what Adobe really allows you to do. One of the concluding thoughts that I would have here quickly, and I know we are almost there in terms of our available time, is that Adobe has really kind of connected the dots, as Adobe has really helped solve the problems of marketing silos in terms of digital marketing. What you really need is someone to be able to, connect the dots specific to your use cases, your marketing organization, and to be able to use these very powerful Adobe tools from the Marketing Cloud in an optimized fashion. So that would be it from my end, and I really appreciate you folks for your time. Any questions?
Yes, Muktesh, we do have a lot of questions, but since we're running out of time, we'll only be able to take a couple of questions right now, and we'll have to get back to the rest of them after the webinar via email. So the first question is, how can we measure the level of engagement through personalization?
That's a great question. So though measuring the level of engagement depends on the metrics that you have identified, personalization allows you to be able to position based on position content and position messaging based on the measurement, but the precursor to that is identifying the right metric that you want to track. So as I said, you need to identify the metric, you need to define it. Adobe as a tool set allows you to define that metric, and that would allow you to personalize relative to the user preferences. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Muktesh. I'll just take one more question. The question is, can we automate the process of sending data insights to sales?
Great question again. Absolutely, absolutely. So the whole notion of connected marketing organization is that the initiatives in marketing can really funnel into the sales initiative. So we have done implementations where we have really allowed marketing automation data and web content management data in terms of user behavior, profile information, segmentation information to be funneled and to be kind of sent to the sales funnel, to the sales person in terms of qualified leads or the different gates in the sales funnel as defined. So you could really ingest that information. There are technical ways to accomplish it, but absolutely possible and absolutely plausible.
Thank you, Muktesh. There are a few more questions, but as I said, we'll have to get back to them after the webinar. And note, we'll have to end the webinar now. I would like to thank everyone for attending our webinar. We hope you found it informative. The recording for today's webinar will be available on our website within the next 3 business days. We'll also be sharing the webcast URL with all the attendees via email. Please feel free to reach out to us at contact@edynamic.net for any questions you may have. Thank you once again.